Okay, good morning. We're going to do a rebuttal on an article that JP had done for CBS Austin. It's actually an article. And I do have the link. If you want it, I can give it to you. Just ask me for it in private. Or I could put it in the chat, either way. But I want to go over some of the things that he said, and of course, I'm going to rebut them with the truth. One of the things that he had said was, I am the only one actually not to blame. Now, that was actually the name of the article. Now, of course, we all know that that's a lie. He is totally the one to blame because he is the one who, we've already proven time and time again that he coerced her. If in fact she did, take her own life, he led her there. Although a lot of us believe that he directly or indirectly had something to do with it and that that's not what happened, because there's too many red flags. There's been too many red flags from the very beginning. And his anger towards protesters and anybody that reports on this is because we call him out on his BS. So he doesn't like that. When anybody opposes him, just like cult leaders, just like secret societies, Scientology, Freemasons, the rest, whenever you call them out, they form a counterattack, as I've covered already. And that was the whole reason why it has been covered. I've just covered his 911 call. I can almost guarantee you there'll be a counterattack. He'll try one on me. Of course, God is going to stop him, and he'll fail miserably, probably fall on his face. I fear what God will do to him, really. But don't be surprised if you see that, because that's just their MO. That's their tactics. That's what they do when they're desperate and they're losing. And he's losing miserably right now. Okay, so he says, I want her, Micah, to be remembered as a woman who loved her church. No, you love the church. You love the building. You're into loving things. Micah loved Jesus Christ. Okay, she didn't love your church, because if she did, she wouldn't have gone to another church. She was seeking to find God for real, in a real place of worship to Jesus Christ. She figured out that, your church is just filled with wolves and false doctrine. She didn't want that. She wanted the real thing, and that's what she was seeking, and you didn't like it. And that's why you counterattacked against her. Okay, so then he says about the protesters, the very church these idiot protesters are protesting against, they're not even protesters, they're un-American, who are trying to scare Christians, okay? Number one, the un-American thing, you're the un-American. See, if you were truly an American, you would understand that they have every right to be on a public sidewalk, doesn't belong to you, and stand there and protest against something they feel is an injustice. They have that right. That's called First Amendment right. Okay? Freedom of speech, freedom to protest. They have every right to be there. They're not breaking laws. They're not doing anything. You claim they're harassing you. Well, now you know how Micah felt. See, you only get harassed, as you call it, for a few hours on a Sunday morning. You harassed her every day. Every day. Electronically, you attached things to her car, you emailed her constantly, you showed up at her family's house, driving by, wherever she was, showed up at Honda when she said, walk away. I mean, there was a reason why she said that. She didn't want you in her life. You couldn't accept that because you're a control freak. You want to call the shots, and because she was calling the shots in her own life, you didn't like it. So you formed a counterattack. That's your way of doing things. But this time, it's not working and you don't like it. And everyone's calling you out on it. Okay. The ones who are scared that you call Christians are actually fake, phony, false Christians who play church. And because they're finally being called out on their hypocrisy is why they're scared. They're not scared of anybody. Those protesters haven't been a threat to them at all. However, those very people that you say are scared are the ones who go online and threaten people behind the keyboard. And all those threats, by the way, have all been recorded and sent to the authorities, so they'll be found out. Just like you did, JP, under that name Loki, right? That you were threatening the protesters. We have a record of that that's been sent to the authorities. Wasn't Loki the name of Micah's dog? Yeah. You were little Zeus, right, hon? Yeah, that was JP. And what's the other one? Oh, when you called yourself Jesus Christ. Justice for JP on TikTok. Yeah, that's you. You're pathetic. Okay. Then you said, I am the only one not to blame. I tried to keep her alive. Well, let's see how you did that. Okay? Tracking, stalking, drugging, harassing, violating, controlling, manipulating, and beating her, according to your neighbors. That's how you tried to keep her alive. With me, she never committed suicide. Really? You're the one who said, and I quote, she attempted 7 times. Anybody would in your company if they had to be with you every day. Even a sane person. Never abused her. That's a lie. We have proof of that. We've already covered that. She never had to cook and clean. No, maybe she didn't have to cook and clean, but she had to work. She had to pay for her own car payments, her own insurance. So you didn't cover her bills. You made her cover her bills. And when she didn't do what you wanted her to do, you'd fire her from the job at the church and you'd manipulate her paycheck and you would try to control that. So she went like this to you and got her own job. You didn't like it. Anytime that girl stepped out in her own independence as a person and her own identity, you fought it. You didn't like it because you're a tyrant. All she had to do was take her medicine. It wasn't her medicine. That's why she didn't want to take it. It's your medicine. She didn't want to take it. There is no doctor. She's never had a mental problem until she met you. You tried to drug her by controlling her. That's what you were doing. By controlling her, you drugged her. That's what you did. You mirrored your problems onto her. She didn't want to be drugged or abused anymore. So she served you with divorce papers and a protection order. In South Carolina, for someone to get a protective order, which is a restraining order, you have to show proof, evidence of harassment and stalking. There must be evidence. So there's evidence even in that regard, okay? There's evidence all over the place. You could wallpaper the walls with the evidence against you. Now, I lost my temper on the CJ show last night. And that was pretty much because, well, the character assassinations against the protesters, the character assassinations against Micah's family, and the content creators, and Micah. You're still abusing this girl even in the grave. Still abusing her. Still pushing this narrative that she was mentally ill when you're mentally ill. You're still pushing it. You are all the signs of a cult. All the signs between you and the flying monkeys. You counterattack all opposing views. That's the first and biggest sign. The second sign is digging up dirt on people who oppose you. Okay? Passing by people's houses, leaving nasty, threatening text messages and messages on social media. Typical tactics of a cult. I pointed that out already. Freemasons are a cult. Scientology's a cult. And you're a cult. You're not Christians. You're not even near Christians. There's nothing about you that's Christ-like in any way. And neither of any of your friends at Dominion TV. You're all a bunch of phonies. You're a bunch of hypocrites. And you don't like being called out. That's just too bad. I don't know what to tell you. I didn't make up the fact that we're in the season of judgment. Okay? Now, let me tell you something. If at this point you counterattack against me or any of the content creators or anyone that opposes you at this point, that will prove that I'm correct about you. That will prove, the protesters, all of them, that will prove that you're a cult leader. That will prove you were an abuser to Micah. That will prove that you counterattack everyone who opposes your views. I told you I'm going to rebut every lie, every article, every interview. You have no documentation. You told me the same thing when you called me on July 4th. Documentation this and documentation that. If you had it, you would have shown it by now. But because you don't have it, you're frustrated. Because you're being called out on your crap for the first time in your life, you're frustrated. Because you're being found out and called out and you're being exposed, you're frustrated because you can't control the narrative. You can't control things anymore. You've lost control. Your only option at this point is to lift up your hands and turn yourself in and be honest and say, I did it. I am responsible for all the things I've been accused of. They're all correct. But because of your pride, you can't do that. And pride comes before a fall. And you're falling. You're falling right before our very eyes. If you think that these mainstream outlets are interviewing you because they believe you, you are more delusional than I ever imagined. Fact of the matter is they're helping entrap you in your own lies. And you've been entrapped. You've been entrapped. I may have lost my temper last night on CJ's, and I apologize to all those people, because anybody would lose their temper with somebody as abusive and an arrogant schmuck like you are. Anybody would. I think, Jesus himself would probably rebuke you to your face. And I think he's getting ready to do that very soon. But you're never going to win. This is one fight you will never win. You are on the losing side. Not from me. Not from the content creators. Not from the protesters. You are on the losing side of God. God Almighty. And no matter how powerful you think you are, no matter how smart you may think you are, no matter how successful you may think you are, you can never go toe-to-toe with Almighty God. Never. His wrath is falling on your head, JP. You can't get out of it. Sorry. You did this. You caused it. This is justice for Micah and every victim you victimized throughout the years. And if you don't like it, too bad. It's time to pay. What you sow is what you reap. And now you're going to reap. Everyone else, God bless, and I'll see you soon.